You're listening to Passages, a podcast about great quotes, life, and the wisdom of the Bible. And now your hosts, Drew Kaiser, Jason Pulliam, and Tim Layton.
Welcome. We're glad you're here. Glad you joined us tonight. We're all back together and happy to be here. We enjoy this very much, and we're glad that some of you enjoy listening along with us. This is episode 37, if you can believe it. So,
you know, who do you think's more surprised that we're at episode 37? Our listener or the three of us?
I'm pretty surprised. I can't compare it to
37's great.
I think that's awesome. When we got started, we were like, if we can just get 10 in the books.
Yeah,
so
I think
we're
that's
at a
why
good place.
I'm surprised, because it was kind of hard to get it going.
Oh, but it's so much fun now.
Have we been doing this for a year? I mean, I'm guessing no, since it's only episode 37, but
I want to say it was the end of last year, like December. Does that feel right? December
feel
that
like
we started
it was around the
experimenting
holidays,
around.
yeah.
There is an episode, the lost episode out there that no one will ever hear.
No, the original first episode, and it was bad.
That is not going to be released
The sound quality
during my
was
lifetime anyway.
perhaps in the in the CD collection.
October
Perhaps.
14th is when One Person
Wow.
Baptism and Benjamin Franklin came out.
October.
14th. We're getting-
October
we're-
14th,
we're drawing in.
2023.
We're 2 months
Yeah.
away from our anniversary.
All right. Well, while we're patting ourselves on the back, I wanted to mention that my book, Burdens, a collection of 10 short stories, is now available on paperback, and you can get that at Amazon.com. You can get that at RiddleCreekPublishing.com. And the advantage of the paperback is, well, it's lighter, it's easier to hold in your hand, and it's cheaper. I think it's on Amazon right now for $14.99. So go out and get it. Get a copy of it. Christmas is not too far away, right?
Not too far away.
So I think it'd be best if those of you listening ordered a case of 10 of them.
I think the paperback
Just to have
would
something
make
handy.
It's
a great stocking stuffer. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll fit in the stocking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, before we jump into our segments tonight, I do want to do a follow-up question. Tim, how's the mousecapades going on?
Well,
Yeah.
I will say that in the last few days, there has not been a mouse sighting.
Okay.
But after the episode in the bathtub, there was a sighting of a second.
But we've not had that
But I have
since.
not seen him since.
Maybe you scared him out.
Yeah, maybe he heard what went on.
Yeah. He
You're next.
he has dreams of this giant heel of a shoe smashing down on him over and over again.
Giant
Mice have
naked,
excellent hearing, so
with a-
you know he heard.
with a giant naked man beating him to death.
I
You
just wanted to
scared
get
him
an
in
update.
several different ways.
He's probably been at his therapist for the last couple of weeks.
That's a rough way to go. I mean,
is.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm going to make no bones about
The
it.
last thing he saw in this life was you. Bless him.
That's torture.
Oh, man. All right. Thanks
Poor
for the update.
mouse.
I just needed to know how that had come
We'll
out.
keep it going until
Yeah,
he meets his untimely demise.
You still have the traps out, though.
Traps are still out.
good.
Yeah. You need to keep them out.
Yeah, we're going to get him. All right. I think we're ready for our first segment, and I'm going to do something a little different than what I've done in a number of weeks. I want to talk about, this came from a social media post. Sometimes I read social media and I try not to respond to social media unless it's like happy birthday to somebody or something. But this just, I know, Drew, that you've maybe presented a lesson on this. At a minimum, you've done a Q&A in relation to this. But when I read this post, it made me maybe just think about something that we're going to discuss here that's so sort of fundamental to the faith and what I've been taught all my life. It just, it's almost like, how could you sort of even head down this path? But I know there are a number of people who've headed down this path. Let me sort of reveal where we're headed. So this post was about hell, and it's about sort of the interpretation of what hell is going to be like. And there was a use of an acronym in this post, and it was CI, and I had to look up what CI even meant. And it means, if I looked it up and it all matched together with the post, conditional immortality. And as I understand it, just doing a little quick reading in relation to that, it's the idea that hell is going to maybe involve annihilation. And so, I went back and, it prompted me to do just a little, some quick, let me go through a number of verses about hell and try to see, where this is necessarily heading. And I think the idea is, or this argument is, that a lot of the wording about hell in the Bible is figurative language, maybe that talks about things like, fire, weeping and gnashing of teeth.
How can there be fire and outer darkness at the same time? So these are symbols.
Right. But, there's a number of verses that talk about the eternal nature. It's talked about as eternal death, eternal punishment. And I guess eternal death maybe could lend itself to, you're dead for eternity, but eternal punishment, seems to mean something else. So I was wondering if maybe we could talk a little bit about maybe what that theory is all about. And I don't know that the person who posted this is a passenger. If they are, I'm not really trying to call them out or anything. I just want to talk about it because I think it's an interesting, just the fact that, I think about heaven and hell, and I think about heaven being eternal and hell being eternal, and we're going to have different bodies. And just like you said already, some of this has to be figurative. How could there be, something that's described as fire, but also as darkness? I mean, some of this is beyond our understanding in this physical world.
Yeah.
And so, but just this eternal nature, and I'll close this by saying, and then I'd like for us to maybe talk a little bit about what the Bible says about this and this whole this idea of annihilation. This person made a statement that said, if this theory about hell is keeping some people from going to heaven, this is exactly what he said. If our misunderstanding of hell is causing others to miss heaven, we do well to make sure we've got it right. So that even sort of made me start thinking a little bit more, and I promise I'm gonna shut up in a second. But it made me think, even if there's two options for me, one is eternal punishment and one is complete annihilation. Neither of those is appetizing to me in any shape, way, form, or fashion, right? And I wonder
and how would eternal punishment going to drive me to
How would either one of those keep me from heaven, right?
I guess what he means is the way we have traditionally preached hell is a turnoff, so we need to quit doing that.
And I wonder, is the concept? Well, I don't think the concept could be. How do you keep somebody out of heaven by even if you were, so if our traditional belief about this was wrong and it's not eternal continuing punishment, how does that keep anybody out of heaven? The only thing I could think of is, well, maybe would it be like, well, hey, it's worth living a terrible, debased life here on earth for the pleasures of sin, because I'm just going to be gone, right? And it seems like the only thing it would possibly do is send you in the other direction.
Yeah, I don't agree with the reasoning, and I also don't agree with the approach on social media of telling everybody that everything they've been taught is wrong.
Right.
That seems to be the practice of a lot of people on social media, is to get a lot of attention by telling somebody, their parents and their grandparents and their preachers, have all been lying to them their whole lives,
Right.
and
I
or
never,
have been ignorant and unable to understand what has been right under their noses the whole time.
And I guess only a few years ago, I sort of heard this idea for the first time, and I think we talked about it back then.
Yeah, it's been out there for a long time.
So I found notes where I taught a class on this in 2011.
Right. I was going to bring up a
on the
book that you
afterlife.
used.
Yeah, by F. LaGard Smith, or the book by Francis Chan.
Well, the book by F. LaGard Smith
Is
teaches
what-
the
I was
annihilation,
going to say, it's what triggered a lot of this talk. But
which is a brotherhood book.
It
The
is.
book by Francis Chan,
is
which
one
is
not a brotherhood
Francis
book,
Chan's
yeah.
a popular evangelical pastor. It's right on target with hell. It's one of the best books on hell I've ever read.
It is. It's wonderful. And I used it a lot for the class. A lot of this started, and there's been talk about it for a while, but F. LaGard Smith, who was, when I was at Lipscomb, was the resident scholar. I'm not sure what that meant, but he was there. He would speak in chapel from time to time. In a lecture that he gave in, I'm trying to see if I can find it, in 1988 at Pepperdine, he said this: I also wonder if you feel as uncomfortable as I do in our traditional view of hell. Do you readily accept the traditional view of hell that says God sort of dangles you over the fires that burn day and night? Is that what hell is about? Haven't you struggled with the idea of how there can be a loving God and anywhere in his presence permit that to exist? Doesn't it seem like cruel and unusual punishment? And he goes on to say in that same lecture that God will destroy it, talking about hell, not punish it, not dangle it, not torture it, but destroy it. And then he later wrote the book Afterlife, which was extremely controversial. To me, it goes against so much of the other scriptural discussions. So, in Matthew, 25, the judgment scene where they've got the sheep and the goats right to the left, one is told it's going to eternal reward. One is going to eternal
fire prepared for the devil and his angels.
And that word eternal is the
punishment.
The word eternal there is the same word used for both.
Right. That's Matthew 25:46.
46, right? Eternal
Same-
punishment.
yeah.
Verse 41 talks about eternal fire.
If you believe that life will be eternal, then why would you give a different meaning to eternal with regard? Now, what they would say in response is, well, the consequences of that action are eternal. That's not the way that reads.
No.
I'm sorry, it doesn't read that way.
And you have to be reading your opinions into it to read it that way.
Yeah, you don't pick up the Bible, just read it objectively and walk away with the idea that there is no hell or that souls are annihilated. There's a Daniel 12:1 and 2, which uses the phrase everlasting contempt.
Yep.
That doesn't sound like annihilation. And then 2 Thessalonians 1:6 and following, which I believe uses eternal destruction. And they like that destruction because they can come up with some examples of things that are destroyed in terms of annihilation. But again, you got to look at the adjective eternal, and you can go into this consequences are eternal, but he says the destruction is eternal, the punishment is eternal, the contempt is eternal. What does eternal mean?
Well, and one of their key verses, and I'm not doing this off the top of my head, but I pulled up my notes. One of the key verses that at least I always called him Flagard, but F. Flagard used was Matthew 10:28, which is the verse that says, "Do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the soul, but rather fear him," capital H, him, who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. And they a big part of it is they're tying that destroy the soul and body in hell.
Yeah.
And it's a word, and I'm no Greek scholar by any
But
means.
destroy doesn't always mean annihilate.
No, some of the ways it's used, like in, it's usually signifies the idea of death. It's occasionally used to mean death. Most often it simply signifies the idea of suffering or loss. But in Luke 15, the parable of the lost sheep, that the lost sheep, the word lost is the same word used for destroy.
It can mean ruin.
The prodigal son was lost. That's
Yeah.
destroy. The wineskins, which Christ talked about in Matthew 9:17, were ruined, like what you were saying. And so it's you have to almost take that word and bend it to your opinion in order to make that work. And you've got to take it, I think, out of context with the rest of Scripture.
And out of the context of what the spirit is said to be.
Yeah.
The spirit of man is said to be immortal. Immortal means immortal. You know, the devil is immortal. The angels are immortal. That's who hell was made for. Hell was not prepared for us. It was never God's intention for us to dwell in hell. He made heaven for us. We choose hell by not following him and by rejecting Christ. And the spirit lives on. It's not going to be annihilated. Now, I understand where this teaching comes from, which makes it more suspect. If I can trace back an emotion that if you go back to the beginning and there's an emotion there and not a scripture, then you see a problem.
That's right.
And I don't hear scriptures except Matthew 10:28, which you just debunked with all those passages showing destruction can mean something other than
else,
annihilation. Right. Not to mention the adjective eternal. I don't hear any scriptures supporting universal salvation or annihilation of the condemned in hell. And then going back to Tim's point, why does that make teaching eternal punishment, why does that make people turn away from the church any more than teaching eternal annihilation?
Well, and the comment that was said in that the speech that was made at Pepperdine about how can a loving God be so cruel as to allow someone to be eternally
punished,
suffering? Well, how can a loving God allow somebody to be totally annihilated? I can make the argument on either side. I mean, both are horrible things. They're horrible outcomes. And the loving God is loving because he's good, and his judgment is against those who are unrighteous, who he has warned, who he's patient and long-suffering, hoping that none should come to perish.
Yeah. And we all think about this. I mean, you know, as a child, I grew up thinking literally that I would be, if I went to hell, I would just be burning continually. And it would just feel like a burn continually. As I grew, I learned that just as the pictures of heaven are symbolic, the pictures of hell are symbolic. But the hell is going to be bad. Those symbols are maybe not as bad as what it's really going to be like. But I don't really know what the contempt, the punishment, the destruction will be like. I just know I don't want to be a part of it. Right. The worst part of it, if you read Paul's letters, particularly 2 Thessalonians 1, is being separated from God.
Yeah.
And I like C.S. Lewis's approach in The Great Divorce, where the people who go to hell are given a chance to go to heaven, but they just stay on the bus because they don't want the reality. They don't want the ultimate reality. They don't want to live with God. They choose to live in this illusion of life. I think he calls it the gray town. And it's not so much about the torture and the pain as much as choosing not to live with God and how awful that is.
I think you get a glimpse of the suffering that comes in hell in the story of Cain and Abel. You know, so Cain kills Abel. God confronts Cain about it. And Cain in verse 13 in Genesis 4 says, "My punishment is too great to bear. Behold, you have driven me from this day from the face of the ground, and from your face I will be hidden, and I will be a vagrant and a wanderer on earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." It's this fear of God has so richly blessed me, and now God is turning his face against me. I'm going to be eternally separated from God. And man, that's a terrifying place to be.
Yeah.
I see that as kind of that fear of what it's going to feel like if we face eternal punishment is, what have I done? This punishment is too great for me. And God will say, well, you had all these chances and you didn't listen.
And why resurrect the bodies of the wicked to be annihilated?
Yeah, that was another argument that was in the Francis Chan book.
That doesn't make any sense. It looks like they're being brought back to go dwell somewhere.
I think some of these questions, and I think you alluded to it a minute ago, one of you did, So many of these questions on social media come from somebody's personal feelings, trying to get clicks, and trying to go back and just say everything that you were taught was wrong because they disagree with something or they don't like the way something has been said or done
It's
or
like
taught in
we've
their
got
life.
nothing right.
Yeah. And
Not
it's,
just what you've been taught, but what you're teaching your kids.
and what they're saying
wrong.
is that the way we teach is being intolerant, but they're being intolerant of
Exactly.
Of this. And it's not that you can't go back and question Scripture. In fact, you should. If you hear a sermon and you're not sure, go to Scripture, study the Bible. I mean, God's pretty cut and dry on Noah's word. I'm not saying you can't go back and study and question things you've learned, but to post it on social media to kind of do the look at me, look how wise I am kind of thing, I think there's a lot of that goes on. And
There
that,
is.
and that they pick these topics that'll stir their clicks and likes and follows and shares.
Yeah, without going down another bunny trail, one of the things that I see far too often is, until just the last, I don't know, year or, last 2 years, I went to church and I never heard anything about grace and mercy. And I'm like, not if you had,
What
not
church
if,
did you
not
go
if you
to?
were listening, right?
Right.
And have you read your Bible on your own? You don't have to go to church to hear about it. It's in the book.
I find it very hard to believe that even the most, usually that's a statement against a conservative church.
Right.
And I find it very hard to believe that even the most conservative church, does not talk about grace and mercy, right? There's too much in the Bible about it. Mm-hmm. And, I find that hard to believe. I feel like it's just, hey, some things have finally started clicking with, in my mind around this topic, and now it's new. Well, it's great that it's new for you and you're opening up, another part of God's word. Don't act like, in the 2,000 years of the church that this is, something new, right?
I have a feeling even old Jonathan Edwards probably taught on grace occasionally.
Sure he did.
And he was the sinners in the hands of an angry guy.
Right. Yeah, he was.
All right, let's move on.
Well, while we're on the topic of hell, I want to pick up politics.
Right. I was wondering what the segue was going to be because,
Well, that's
wow.
about as good as a
goodie.
segue. So, guys, I have decided that we need our own PR person, our own spokesperson with the news media as our fame grows with the podcast.
Right. We don't want to waste our time answering questions.
We need the press corps to be able to ask questions, and we need a person in charge. So this week, I don't know why I do this. I listen to press conferences and clips from them. I want us to play just a clip of the press conference that happened. I think it was yesterday with Karine Jean-Pierre answering questions. And I have a point to make about this once we're done. But if you'll play that clip, Drew, for us.
This is Biden's press secretary.
How the vice president has been a partner in all of the happy
So the
awards
reporter
over these
asking the
last 3.5
question.
years.
Here's the
given that
question.
They've worked so closely together. In that time, what does the president see as the vice president's biggest achievement during their time in office together?
So pause it there, Drew. So the question is, it's a very direct question. What does the president see as the vice president's biggest contribution or biggest achievement in her time in office?
Do you think this was this like a combative question? Was this somebody that was sort of a detractor or whatever?
It did not sound very combative.
Pretty just.
It sounded
like
and that
I'm
was
your buddy. I'm throwing this out so that you can. Get
this
on
is
the
his
record or
follow-up
something.
question, and I
And
noticed.
I might interject that 24 days into her campaign, this is the only chance they get to interview Kamala
because
Harris.
she's not made any
And
press conferences.
They're talking to Biden's press secretary, but they've got questions they
It's the
can't ask
closest thing
Harris.
You get, right?
They're just going to
That's right.
try to go through KJP.
So he asks what I think was a very direct question and a fair question. And she's got this huge notebook. Have y'all ever watched any of her?
Yeah.
And she's flipping pages. There's tabs in there. And so she's flipping pages while she's answering. And then what is her biggest achievement or accomplishment while in office? Here's the answer. See if you can figure out.
Because they've been partners, those achievements have been done, certainly those historic, unprecedented achievements have been done together. I'll say this, the president believes in the vice president leadership, her temperament, her experience, And he has said this himself. One of the proudest decisions that he made in 2020 was selecting her as vice president because he believed that she can go on day one. And you've seen them do that together on day one of this administration. That doesn't change. I'm not going to parse out anything from here. They have been partners. She's been a critical partner for this president for during this term, and will continue to do so. You will see them together on Thursday in Maryland, where they will
All right,
talk
you can
about
stop
their
it there. I
next
think that's enough.
announcement on lowering costs.
Critical partner.
Okay, so
There was no
in
accomplishment
any
mentioned there.
question,
There was no,
at any point
no
did she answer
area
that?
of domestic or foreign policy discussed. They certainly did not talk about the border.
No,
No.
they're just talking
Nothing.
in circles,
Right.
And she's talking about how he's worked together. But it was a specific question. So can you imagine being in a place where when people ask you direct questions, you just make up whatever you want to hear,
That's what they do
or whatever
all
they
the
hear.
time.
And it's so frustrating. And
Yeah.
I can't imagine being in the press corps there and having to deal with answers like that all the time. And look, we all think the news media has some bias. I believe there's some bias there. If you don't, we can talk about that, one day, not anytime soon. But I think there's some bias there. But when you're getting answers like that, you've got to start getting frustrated because you've asked a very specific question that should
Oh,
have a
it's
very
agonizing.
easy answer, and it's not. But in my research for this, I started thinking about Passages needs a press secretary. We need a PR person that can answer questions in a lucid, clear manner that will help us out when we get. I mean, we've asked for people to email us questions and things to talk about. We've had so many come in. Not really.
We've had a few.
We have? Oh,
We had a few things.
okay. So I thought, what better chance to interview this? So I have another clip, Drew, if you'll play it, of who I want to be our press secretary.
This is your candidate.
This is her interview. She
and Tim
answered
and I
a
are
question.
going to scrutinize her.
Yeah, please do. She answered
Okay,
this
this-
question in a very public manner, and I think she handled it perfectly.
Ladies and
is like-
gentlemen, straight from South Carolina, here we go.
Okay.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much.
Thank
South
you
Carolina.
very much. Yes,
So,
ma'am.
I want to present to you Trump's next press secretary if he wins, or Kamala Harris's press secretary if she wins.
She'd be a humdinger.
But she's going to have to steal her from us because I think, can you imagine her answering questions as if?
Such as
as.
the
South Africa. She got stuck on South Africa.
Let me just throw a such as, so clearly, we had a couple of talking points there. Reminds me of what's the line from Vice President Harris? Imagine the
significance of the passage of time. Oh, what could be unburdened by what has been.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good job, Drew. And so
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
great.
it's like just a prepared thing that means absolutely
And again,
nothing,
a
right?
very direct question.
Yeah.
Why do Americans have problems finding this on the map? Very simple question. Should have a
Wasn't
very simple
answered.
answer. It should be like our education has stopped focusing on studying geography. Kids today are on their phones too much. I mean, there's so many different things.
We will give
It has nothing to do with South Africa or Iraq.
I can just hear the classes in the beauty pageant. When you get your question, if you're stumped by the question, just
mention.
just say words and talk until the beeper, and you'll be fine.
If you get stuck, say such as, and if it's something about something around the world, talk about Iraq and South Africa.
I mean, that was just a like one so forth away from being a perfect speech.
Well, I think some people don't. Some of the reason people can't find our country on the map is because they don't have maps.
Yeah, that's right.
That was maybe the best part of our answer.
And there's some truth to that. I mean, there's a lot of people. I have maps. They're laminated in case it's raining and I need them to stay dry.
Right.
But the video of that, and I think what's the guy that was on Saved by the Bell, the jock, the athlete, what was his name? Slater?
AC Slater. Yeah.
I think he's the guy hosting that. The look on his face when it goes back to him, he's like, and that was a good
that's one of the best
we're gonna
answers
be moving
ever.
on. Yeah, nailed it. It was like, he has this look like, did that just really happen? This is going to be on
TV.
YouTube for the rest of my life.
Live TV.
But
what can you
anyway,
do?
it's funny to me how similar that answer was to the press secretary for the president of the United States.
And I
answers.
don't even think you used the worst example of the press secretary.
No, I just used the most
That's
recent
recent.
one. That
you
was
could
recent.
pick any
there's some
clip
awful ones. There's
from
a reason,
any day, and it would be like that.
There's a reason she's not done a press conference, folks, and it's because, Kamala, she would struggle with doing a press conference, but this girl, Karine Jean-Pierre,
she does it every day, but
she
basically,
just,
right? Like
she
the
just,
briefing.
and she just rambles.
Yeah, she's
And
horrible.
for an hour, that press conference was 42 minutes long.
One time I heard KJP use the phrase, "It's a devastating devastation,"
Ooh,
describing something. Brilliant.
that is bad.
All right. And then you have to ask yourself on the other side, how can you not overcome this? Right. But on the other side, you'll get an answer.
But it is crazy.
It's full of name calling.
Right. It's wrapped full of mean name calling.
No one's cheering when she got off the plane, and the video's like,
and
people are cheering.
And
just lies.
Over exaggeration.
The greatest and the worst of everything.
Little hyperbole.
I recall the time that I spoke at the Lincoln Memorial. Everyone in America was there.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I'm surprised he's not referenced being at Gettysburg and speaking, because he's not far from that.
It was much better than Lincoln's address there. It was amazing.
We had a different event while Lincoln was talking, and it was much bigger. It was better, greater.
Lincoln had no audio. There was no video. There were no drones.
Yeah. And he didn't. Well, never mind. I'm not
He
going
wore a
there.
silly hat.
I have a really funny joke that I just can't drop right now.
Yeah, I trust your gut.
Yeah, I'm trusting my gut.
Keep that to
I'm
yourself.
going to write it down so I can tell
All
y'all.
right, Drew,
in the
over to
break.
you.
All right, it has been a long time, but it's time for some rock news.
Rock news.
So Thursday, Taylor Swift had a little surprise.
T Swifty.
Her concert was interrupted by a terror plot.
Oh, wow.
So she is going to pick back up and power through her cruel summer as the singer has reemerged after a thwarted terror plot saw her Eras tour stop in Vienna last week.
Is cruel summer your words, or is that the words in the article?
The genius who wrote this article.
What's okay?
It's a TMZ article. The pop star stepped out in London Monday for a celebratory evening in honor of her tour staffers, where she treated her employees to a night of fun at a members-only club called Annabelle's. I don't care about that. I was looking for information about the terrorist plot, and of course there is none. But I just think that it was amazing, but really not all that surprising that they chose a Taylor Swift concert to hit, because these concerts are one of the largest gatherings of people.
Sure.
They represent a lot of things in the West that extreme Muslim terrorists hate. Mm-hmm. And they're all about mass destruction. So
So
this
was
is
this
what we can
going to
expect
happen
going forward. I think in a lot of places, athletic competitions and concerts, like in this Eras tour, it's on a whole nother level than
Was that this week it happened, or was
it happened last week.
Okay, was this the one I read about? Tim,
was doing a little research.
silence your phone.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So was that the one I read about that they were talking about that they arrested some people for it, I think, and they were
Yes.
talking about they weren't going to be in the concert, but they were going to be outside of the concert, creating havoc with the people
Yeah.
that were mingling.
Right.
So I, it is interesting to think. We've all been to concerts within the last 6 months to a year. When you go in, you walk through the metal detectors. You have to take out your wallet, whatever, or you have to let them look in your purse, take off your hat, all this kind of stuff. Getting into the concert's hard, but all those people waiting outside the concert to get in, that is a pretty vulnerable time. And
Right.
That's kind of I've never thought of it that way, but that
Yeah.
is a scary thing to think
So
about.
this was in Austria, right? Where they canceled the concerts.
Yes.
And
Vienna.
That's like put another shrimp on the Barbie, right?
just a
No, that's that's Australia.
That's
Oh,
Australia,
I get
yeah.
those
Home of the
confused every
breakdancer.
time.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
some good
make a
stuff
note
right
of
there.
that. We'll circle back to that one.
But it says that one of two teenage suspects was ready to attack the concert with knives and explosives, and said he consumed large amounts of ISIS and Al Qaeda.
Hey, but he didn't have a gun.
just some
Right?
explosives.
Is Austria one of those no-gun countries?
I believe so.
He just
Somehow or
had,
another, he had
explosives
explosives.
and knives.
Yeah.
Can't hurt anybody with those things. But yeah, I'm glad that they caught it ahead of time and saved who knows how many lives through that. But this terrorism problem just doesn't seem to be getting any better. I worry about all the illegal immigrants coming across the border. There's reports that people on the terror watch list are getting through. It's not people from South America necessarily that are coming in. They're coming from all over the world. And so, we went from hell to terrorism. This podcast is very sobering.
It's kind of a dark
Not our
podcast.
usual fare.
It is scary to think about, though, because especially with the chaos going on right now in the Middle East, there is even more, what's the word I'm looking for? Energy, momentum
Yeah.
behind, the Palestinian movement, Iran, Hezbollah, all of these groups.
Right.
And their goal is to create chaos.
Yeah. Well, I have more rock news.
Okay, bring us more. I hope it's bright.
Well, it's brighter. It's kind of a sad story. Steven Tyler, his career
This broke my
ended with throat injury. And this article from Fox News asks the question, how dangerous is a fractured larynx? Well, that sounds pretty bad to me. Aerosmith announced heartbreaking end to band's farewell tour due to frontman's vocal issues. Aerosmith's mid-tour announcement that the band is retiring after 5 decades has spotlighted the little-known condition frontman Steven Tyler is battling. On Friday, the band announced on its website and its X account, that's Twitter, that Tyler's ongoing vocal issues led them to the heartbreaking decision to stop performing. As you know, Steven's voice is an instrument like no other, the statement read. He has spent months tirelessly working on getting his voice to where it was before his injury. We've seen him struggling despite having the best medical team by his side. Sadly, it is clear that a full recovery from his vocal injury is not possible. We have made a heartbreaking and difficult but necessary decision as a band of brothers to retire from the touring stage. I think somebody needs to put him in touch with Tom Waits.
Yeah.
Because Tom Waits would say, hey,
The
brother,
gravel is good.
you're just getting started.
Yeah.
You're just getting started.
Now,
How old
the
is
man
Tom
is-
Waits? Is he on up there?
well, Steven
Steven
Tyler,
Tyler's
did you look-
76.
76, yeah. I'm
Tom
looking it
Waits
up.
is maybe 70.
74.
Oh, he's 74.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was my very first concert was Aerosmith. So it is a little bittersweet because I had planned on trying to see them on their farewell tour. But at 76, I'm sure his pipes weren't quite what they were
considering
25
what
years
he's
ago
done to them for 50 years.
Yeah.
And on the farewell tour, what's he going to sing? The stuff he's sung for the last 50 years.
Yeah, he's not going to drop it down an octave.
Which is a lot of screaming and, and high, high register stuff and straining.
That's his thing.
Yeah. And he is very high energy live. Like I'm sure in the studio, he tones back a lot, but man, live, that guy.
The one that I went to, there were these
screams.
poles on the sides, and he'd swing around these poles or whatever. Now that's been a number of years ago. It was probably in the 90s when.
Yeah, that's when I saw him.
These rock stars don't want to put the mic down. My friend, one of my friends, went to a concert in Memphis last weekend with George Thorogood and John Fogerty.
Wow.
John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater Revival. Now, poor old Fogerty, he hadn't been able to play his own songs for the last several decades. He finally got the rights to his own music catalog back. You remember, he's the guy that was sued. You remember he was sued for plagiarizing his own song by the record company that had.
He's 79 years old.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And he's another screamer.
Yeah.
And I asked my friend, I said, at 79, is he still growling and screaming in those high registers? And he said, he missed some of those high registers, but most of the night he was doing it.
Wow.
So what keeps him touring? Is it the fame, the enjoyment, the excitement, the adrenaline rush, or is it they're broke and need the money?
Well, in some cases it is the money. And because not all the band members fare as well as the frontmen.
Yeah.
Take Aerosmith, for example. Yeah. Now, they probably, the whole band probably has done well because that's a big band. But Steven Tyler, he's been on American Idol. He's gotten endorsements and done all things that the rest of the band's not able to do.
Yeah, that's true.
And he has a lot more money than they do.
Yeah.
And they make money on tour.
Yep.
And I've heard those stories before that the drummer is in poverty and asks, hey, can we get the band back together? And as a favor to some drummer or bass player, they'll put the band back together to get them out of financial trouble. But I think a lot of it is just enjoying music, enjoying performance.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of older acts, and those guys can, a lot of those older acts.
Who's the oldest one out there right now?
Are the Stones touring right
now?
The Stones
are touring.
964 years
82, Mick Jagger, 82 maybe. And he's pretty well preserved.
Mick Jagger's 81.
Keith Richards has been dead for 40 years.
Yeah, he doesn't
still
count.
Touring.
The ghost of Keith Richards.
Keith Richards is 80.
Okay.
It's just great.
But, Millie and I went and saw Hootie and the Blowfish, and that could be one of those, right? Darius Rucker's done very well or whatever, but, everybody else in Hootie and the Blowfish probably could stand a tour again, right?
Right. And I don't know if they put all songwriting credits matters too.
Mm-hmm.
So did their hits, were they credited to Darius Rucker or were they credited to the whole band? It makes a difference.
True. Yep.
And in that concert, Edwin McCain opened up for them. He's been around for a long time. He was like, I'm having a blast doing this. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to, this is probably my last go at venues like this or whatever, and Collective Soul came out in between those two, and, another group that was a 90s group. Well, it's been a while since the 90s, right? And so, there are a lot of, but you also have to think about the fact of what do these guys do? They make music. I mean, that's been their life.
And they do it a lot because they love it.
Right. And so,
and these tours are making a lot of money for the
making money, right?
People doing the producing and
like these folks like, Edwin McCain and Collective Soul. what have they been doing for the last 20 or 30 years? Probably living off their heyday, right? Well, might be time to go back out and, make a bankroll one more time or something, so it's...
Well, speaking of old people who are still out there, I saw Bill Shatner being interviewed on the news this morning.
He's looking
93.
93, wow.
Good shape for 93.
I asked Jackson, I said, how old do you think he is? Jackson's like, 78? I was like, he's 93. And he went to space last year, I think, on one of those rockets that just go up and come down in like 10 minutes. But
He's
still,
a very interesting guy.
Yeah.
Very, very
That's one way
interesting
to-
guy.
Hey, he's got the secret to longevity. I'll give him that. Staying active.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to see 93.
If we started touring, you might, keep the juices flowing.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't. I'm pretty sure I'm not the Keith
What-
Richards of this group.
What if we just took this podcast on the road and just, did stadiums and stuff? I mean,
And we ended
I'm
up
not so sure.
It'd be like Dude Perfect.
I
It'd
like
be it'd be like this. Hello.
We couldn't sell out the teen room.
No.
Hey, we should take this to Homer Smiles one Wednesday night, and on our stadium tour.
Yeah. Maybe the sprinklers won't come on while we're out there, Rick. Or there's no sprinklers. It's turf. We're
It's
safe.
turf. Yep.
That sounds good.
Coming to you from the 50-yard
Hey,
line.
you brought it up, so I have to go back to it quickly. Australian breakdancing should have got gold, guys.
Wow.
Her score?
0.
0.
That is the craziest thing, and you feel bad for a person because it's like the lightsaber kid.
Yeah.
You're going to be a meme for the rest of your life.
I think
But
that person
did you
did
not
that
know?
for that. There's no way
did-
she was
It
sincere.
couldn't have been serious.
No. I think I read something or heard it, maybe in a report, that she knew she was not good enough to win, and so basically, I think she just went completely off script.
And she's going to
just-
get interviews. She's going to get late night shows. I guarantee it. I mean, I can see these shows bringing her in and talking about the person who scored a 0 in a sport of breakdancing.
We saw, I think it was last night, Jimmy Fallon had Rachel Dratch on it as the character of the Australian breakdancer.
that's good.
And she brought it pretty good.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Had a windsuit on or
Oh
something.
yeah. Had that green and yellow windsuit on that she had on. Hey, I don't know if you've seen.
Are windsuits coming back?
I think she just put them
Swish,
into
swish,
ancient
swish, swish.
history.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all saw any of the ones who actually won. I will still debate.
I did not
I watched
watch it.
I'll
I
still,
watched a little of the break.
I will still debate that,
Breaking.
I don't think that really belongs in the Olympics. The ones that were good were very good. I mean,
Right.
they had some moves.
I saw it on one time and I turned it off.
You have to have some athleticism to do those moves, but come on. I
What
think
did-
they've eliminated it.
What
I
y'all-
don't think it's going to be in
Is it not
2028.
going to be? You know what I heard that may not be in 2028 right now? There's a plan to remove boxing from the Olympics.
Because of this whole gender.
No,
issue?
I don't think so. I wonder, there's rules about it has to be something that is actively participated in by so many countries or whatever. And I wonder if boxing's, overall, we know in this country it's sort of died down in popularity, right? It's
Yeah, but
it's not the days of
It's
Mike
more
Tyson
popular
or whatever.
than breaking.
Right. And and there was also, when I was reading
Or handball.
oh, absolutely.
Or badminton.
Or team
Not a sport.
team handball. It's like y'all just made that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not playing that
Yeah,
everywhere.
boxing is a solid sport.
And it was like one of the fundamental, they talked about, pugilism was one of the main things in the ancient Olympics. And you can't take boxing out of the
no,
Olympics.
that's a bad decision.
I hope that they will revisit that.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure that anybody from the U.S. won anything in boxing. Amateur boxing's just, I don't think a big deal in the U.S. anymore.
Yeah. It's sad. We'll come back. We'll make it back. All right. Well, let's take a break, try to cheer up a little bit. All this talk about hell and
Politics.
Politics, and just
Steven
kind of got
Tyler.
me there. Steven Tyler's throat was ripped out. I'm sad.
My hope was falling, so I picked it up. I think today I'm gonna change my luck. I walk around looking up at the sky and the clouds.
Welcome back. Passages is back online after our long break. People ask us, what do you do during the break? And the truth is, sometimes we just hit pause and then start it back up right away. But I got me a cup of coffee tonight.
And I'd gone
It's
through
decaf.
I'd gone through 32 ounces of water. So I found one of the local facilities and, made sure the lights still worked in there.
This is hard work. You have to pace yourself. You can't just plow through an hour and a half of
Excellence
kind of
doesn't
material
happen
we're
without
doing
the
here.
occasional
That's
break.
right.
And
So-
here as we record, studio standard time, we've crossed the 10 o'clock hour. So
Yeah, so the
we-
brains are dead.
Yeah,
Which
so-
means we're into the sweet spot. Though none of us have really had one of those moments where we just stopped functioning yet.
I did your announcements tonight about 7 o'clock. So
I saw that. It was pretty good though. All right, so our quote from tonight is from the American author Glennon Doyle, and I don't know a lot about Glennon Doyle. She's got a few books out, but my mom actually sent me this quote. Hey, Mom, thanks for listening, and thanks for sending us a quote.
don't I remember Sir Arthur Glennon Doyle? Is that somebody
A
different?
different
Arthur-
Doyle family,
Okay.
different branch.
Different family.
yeah.
Okay, never mind. Sorry.
So this quote, Mom sent it to me and said, I think this would be a good one to talk about. And it's a long one, so bear with me. If I get out of breath, I may have to pause, take a breath, and then get back to it. But I think it'll lend itself to a really good discussion, and definitely is something that is current to our times. So the quote says, I find myself worrying most that when we hand our children phones, we steal their boredom from them. As a result, we are raising a generation of writers who will never start writing, artists who will never start doodling, chefs who will never make a mess of the kitchen, athletes who will never kick a ball against a wall, musicians who will never pick up their aunt's guitar and start strumming. And I thought that was a good quote. I don't know why we picked kick a ball against the wall as the sport quote. I mean, I would have thought throw a ball, try to hit a ball, throw the ball up
Well,
in
the
the air. try to
idea
hit it.
is you're by yourself. So
Yeah, that is true.
what ball games can you play alone?
Basketball.
True.
Yeah.
That would have been better.
Yeah,
Why don't you
basketball.
send an email to her?
It's
or
just not
something?
that important
Hey,
to me.
Glennon Doyle, could we get you to
I got a
fix,
tweet.
fix this quote?
Yeah. But anyway, there's a lot of truth to this in that today's free time, if there is such thing for kids, and it starts really at a young age. I mean, I have had patients at our office before that are 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, and already have a phone in their hand, which is just crazy. But by being on our technology, we still boredom. And, boredom is often thought about as a bad thing. But in reality, boredom is where a lot of creativity comes from. And I think that's what the author of this quote is saying. I think that's what she means. I was thinking as we got started, as we were talking about this quote, it'd be interesting to come up with an idea of something that you learned to do out of boredom as a child. So I spent a little bit of time. My parents listen to this, so they can confirm later how many minutes or hours or days I spent in timeout. And timeout was pretty boring. I think the rule was you got to sit in the middle of the floor. You can't touch anything. I would find a penny or a coin, and I learned to shoot a coin by snapping up my arm. So if I wear long sleeves, I can snap my finger and it looks like a coin disappears, but it shoots up my sleeve. Hours of practice to learn to do that. Now, I rarely wear long sleeves, and if I wear them now, they're rolled up, so that trick is gone by the wayside, but I can still do it. But that's something I learned just out of boredom, about having nothing else to do. Is there anything that young Tim Layton learned to do out of boredom?
this quote mentions kicking a ball against a wall, and probably the thing that may have driven my parents crazy is somewhere along the way I got a tennis racket and just played tennis, or it was hitting the ball, the brick wall that was on the other side, the outside from the kitchen, just over and over and over and over. And, so I'd probably played tennis for 5 years before I ever stepped on a tennis court. Because all I'd ever done, is nobody went to the tennis court, so I didn't know anybody that played, just hitting the ball against a brick wall, annoying the people inside the house.
I am shocked that there were no tennis courts in Munford, Alabama.
It comes as a shock, but true.
Yeah.
Drew, anything you picked up?
I guess I learned to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And that was when I got bored, that's what I would go and do. I didn't start it because I was bored. I wanted to learn it, but I practiced a lot because in my home, there was a lot more dead time than in the conventional home today. I remember long afternoons. Summers seemed so long. And parents in my generation didn't feel like they had to fill every minute of every day. And that's not even counting the devices. Now, we had, some video game systems, but they just weren't designed to lock you in forever.
No.
Right.
And there was an end. You could beat the game, and then you'd have to save up your money for another game. It wasn't like it is today where you're online and just unlimited access.
I like what you said there with parents didn't feel like they had to fill every moment of the day. I think about how many days of my childhood, and of course we didn't have cell phones. We had the Atari and eventually the NES, but even those games, you could only play Bayou Billy so long, and then it got really boring.
It gets old, yeah.
But I think about the amount of time spent outside, just exploring, being outside.
Because that was our parents' answer to, if we dared to say we were bored, go outside.
Yeah. Here's a rake, or go outside and play. And go outside and play one
what
every time.
do I do? Figure it out.
Yeah. And today, kids, I think about it, they miss that. I got home last night about, I don't know, it was 8:30 or so, maybe 9 o'clock. And as I pull in the driveway, I see these lights bouncing across the back of our property. And I'm like, who is that? And Sam comes riding up. And he's out there on our old four-wheeler, and it's a junker, but it runs. It's a little dangerous if you're wearing a backpack
It's the one that almost killed you.
It's the one that almost
Tim
killed me.
and I told you to sell.
Reference back a few
It's
episodes.
not supposed to be at your house.
Well, it's still there, and Sam loves to ride it. But it kind of made me happy to get home, and it's after dark. He's been at school all day. He's been at football practice. And instead of being inside on the PlayStation or on his phone, he was out there just riding the four-wheeler. And it was like, that is a positive, that is a good thing for him to be doing. And I worry about sometimes if we haven't tried to fill way too much time. And I think sports, even like park ball, travel ball, it's like every waking moment is filled. And if we're bored, we're terrified of it. But I think out of boredom comes a lot of good things.
Yeah, I do too. Somebody told me one time that the word amusement, which is what we use our phones for, is a Greek word, muse. What does that mean? That means to ponder, to think, to have activity going on in your mind. The letter A in Greek negates the force of the root. So amusement means not to think, not to have any thoughts. And that's kind of why we go to amusement, is we don't want to think about things. And I think this brings up the idea that we purposely distract ourselves with our phones to keep from thinking the hard thoughts. Not just by hard thoughts, I'm not talking about math. I'm talking about uncomfortable thoughts.
Life's major
regrets,
questions.
Decisions that need to be made, hard conversations you need to have with somebody, hurt that you're dealing with, things you're working through. We procrastinate a lot with our phones. Hey, if I just distract myself with this show that I'm binge watching or this game or social media, I won't have to listen to my own thoughts because they're not very good right now. And that's not very healthy behavior.
We tried to wait as long as we possibly could before we got Jonathan a phone, and it got into those situations that, like, some of the things that you had to do at school, right? The way you would check in, the way you do this and that, you needed a phone, start doing practices at school and things like that, ability to contact us, that was not a must in that situation, but I think we waited until about 13. I don't regret a day of that, and I think we would all say to parents, the longer you can hold off, the better.
The better.
You won't regret, their time, other than, they will whine about it because their friends have it, but it does open up, gives them a chance to have the world opened up to them more than through this time consumption. Like with anything, the key to all this is discipline. It's the fact that, a phone in and of itself is neither good nor bad, but what these phones typically lend themselves to are mindless activities or activities that could be of a negative nature. I'll give y'all an example that I thought was pretty cool. We bought Jonathan a guitar way back, right? And we encouraged him to take some lessons, and he went down here to the music room, and it just didn't click for him. It didn't work. And I would ask him when he came back from the lessons, what's did you learn something, play something for me or whatever? And he was always real hesitant to do it. And it was like he was sort of ashamed that, nothing was happening in relation to those lessons. And so then, so that guitar went in the closet for years, 3 or 4 years. And then I start hearing it being played in there in his room. And I go in, and he's got his phone up, and he's watching somebody play, or he's watching a video about, how to play a certain song, something that he's interested in. And he starts coming, he starts playing a little bit of things, or he's learning something about some chords or whatever. The one thing that phones and the internet can do is they open up the world of content in an amazing way. But again, that implies that we're going to be wise consumers of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's done in an acceptable amount, right? Mm-hmm. Even if it's good things, right? If it just totally, you spend all your time doing that, that's not a good thing. So, with everything, the idea is moderation and discipline. And these are not made, these are made as a real challenge to both of those, to moderation and discipline, because it comes so very easy to just, I'm sitting here, there it is, reflex action, flip, boom, here I am, lost in something.
And I think part of that, Tim, management and discipline, is the difference between active use and passive use. Mm-hmm. So the example you gave of Jonathan, that's active use. He is using that tool. He's using that phone as a tool to learn how to play the guitar. He's actively progressing his life in a direction. He's going toward a goal. Passive use is scrolling through social media, binge watching Netflix, just letting the phone do all the work, right, instead of making it work for you. And if you're struggling with it, like Tim said, the answer is not to get rid of your phone, because you can't in this world. You can't go to a doctor. I've got a doctor's appointment tomorrow, and I had to do all my registration on my phone. That's the way they wanted it done. And you're not going to get out of that. Just use it actively as a tool, control it, don't let it control you.
One thing that I saw that I thought was really good, and I hope that maybe this is the beginning of a trend, is there was an article in July that here in Alabama, Montgomery County Public Schools instituted a cell phone ban at school.
Good.
So nobody has a cell phone at school. 26,000 students. They said there was a drop in discipline rates in relation to that. And so now all of those things that I mentioned, you've got to be able to check in. You've got to be able to, use it for some class or some activity. Mm-hmm. Nobody has them. And when nobody has them, you're okay. You're back at,
at square
one level, and I think that's something that school systems should really look at, is just ban them. Nobody's
don't have to have them.
Don't have to have them.
Well, and the thing with phone use is anything that becomes an obsession or a compulsion is unhealthy for you.
Right.
At some point, we talked about this quote, and I don't remember why, but Anna Lemke, in her book named Dopamine Nation, she said, the smartphone is the modern-day hypodermic needle delivering digital dopamine 24/7 for a wired generation. And the problem is these kids, adults even, we get so used to the excitement or the joy or whatever it gives us that we don't appreciate the time away from it. And what we're doing with our phones is what a lot of drug addicts and other substance abusers or behavioral addicts, what they're doing to get away from what you were mentioning earlier, Drew, were those quiet times where you're forced to sit there in your own thoughts. Mm-hmm. And sometimes sitting there in your own thoughts is what you need to do.
Right.
I mean, it helps you grow. But if we can find a way to distract ourselves from that, this phone
we're
is
tempted
there.
for the instant gratification over the long-term benefits of working through some stuff that we've really got to work through.
And the phone dumbs us down because so often we're using it passively, like you were talking about earlier. All these other things that this quote talks about, writing, drawing, doodling, trying to cook, doing athletics, playing music, they build our brains. They build our intelligence. They help our imagination. They
enhance life, make life better.
The phone pulls away. And I don't know if you've noticed this with your kids. I've definitely seen it with mine. Have you noticed that when you get onto them and they finally, you've hit that point where they've done something they don't, and you say, you know what, your phones are mine for the weekend. How much happier everybody seems to be.
It takes a while, but they get more pleasant.
They do, because they're outside, they're experiencing life, and they're not caught up in this digital world that is full of pressure from their peers, pressure from the world.
It is amazing.
I noticed
the
that with
behavior
my
is
kids.
amazing.
When
we had Jonathan's phone for an extended period of time, and it was like he became a new person.
It is.
He would sit down and talk to us again. I mean, he
got bored.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, it takes a minute. It's almost like they have to go through withdrawal from it first.
They got to pout for a little while.
And then once they reset to this baseline level of dopamine, and I think that's what it is, it's like, hey, I'm normal and happy again. Mm-hmm. And that shows me the importance of having some boredom and doing these other things and getting away from the technology.
Well, and really, maybe I'm going to the wrong places, but the internet gets boring after a while. I mean, there's funny videos on there. There's interesting things to read. But, I have this joke at home where I'll run through my Facebook feed real quick, but mostly look at the notifications to see if anybody's trying to get a hold of me or made a comment or Ava posted something. Go through Instagram, check it real quick, and then I'll just put my phone down and I'll say, well, I finished the internet. Still nothing on it.
And the kids think that's hilarious, I'm sure.
Oh, no, I don't even know if they've heard it. I've said it in their presence, but
hundreds of times.
If by their reaction, it appears that they are completely deaf.
Well, And part of our role as Christians, taking it away from just our individual lives and our family and the effect it has, one of the important things about being a steward of what God has given us is one of the most valuable things God has given us is time.
Yeah.
And being a good steward of that time means not melting your brain with technology all the time. Sometimes being a good steward is just going outside and enjoying his creation. We've had this last weekend was beautiful. The humidity was down. It was still hot.
Yeah. It was
But man, it was a great weekend to be outside. And thank goodness we were able to get out there and do it. It wasn't pouring down rain because we were able to get away from our phones and all that. And it's good for us. It's part of being a good steward of what God's given us, I think.
Yeah. So be bored. Be bored. Take up painting, play the guitar, doodle, kick a ball against a wall.
Let your mind grow.
Tim is obviously bored because that dude's been doodling since we walked in the room.
It
That
just helps
sheet,
me.
Tim's a doodler.
It helps me think. Right?
It does. Yeah.
I'm a doodler.
Yeah, I like it because he's our archivist.
Yes.
If we ever need to go back and we lose if we lose all the archives of the recordings,
I don't know. Jason's book will do the trick.
The book
there.
right here
put
is
y'all's the Chronicles
put
of
ours
Jason
together,
and Tim. We
yeah.
could put it together and reenact every episode from episode 1.
One day my kids are going to be going through all of my stuff and they're going to be like, what is this book? And they're going to open it up and they're going to be like, I remember when those 3 guys did that. And they're going to read these quotes and they're going to see my little funny notes I've made in here. And it's going to remind them of the good old days.
I think that's the book before they went viral and had millions of followers.
Yeah, before they filled that stadium. And I don't mean Homer Smiles.
Hey, listen, as we wrap this thing up, we need you to spread the love a little bit. I noticed our numbers are plateauing. We like the numbers we have, but we'd always enjoy a little growth. So spread the word and let people know about the podcast. Leave those ratings and reviews.
Room for more passengers.
Always room. This train's got a lot of seats in it. I'm running out of things to say because my brain has turned to mush. We are at that point. But we thank everybody for listening. We are planning to do what are we calling this thing? All request episode or a Q&A episode,
yeah.
What I have, guys, is several quotes that people want us to talk about.
Oh, okay. We can
do that, but it doesn't have to be just quotes. You can ask us to tell a story that we have talked about and mentioned, talk about a particular topic, ask our opinion about something, send us a list. You know how we like lists.
Absolutely.
Find a list, find a headline that you like. We'll do just about anything within reason. So keep that in mind. You know how to get in touch with us. You can use the Instagram page, passages_podcast. Message us there. That's probably the best way. Or ar@arcoc.com is the email address. Or like Jason says, you know us. Find our digits and just send us a message. We'll get it in there. We're going to be doing that episode here pretty soon, probably not next week, but maybe soon after that. So keep that in mind and keep listening. Okay, that's not right. Let's try that again.
That's what our brains feel like.
Keep listening.
Follow us on Instagram at passages_podcast. And join us next time on Passages.